Hello and welcome back to my Fire Red randomized Nuzlocke. Most folks just call me Orange Joe, and in the last episode we basically trained up all we really could before the gym fights. Now, the good thing about Koga and I think it's Sabrina, I don't rightly know, is they have a lot of fights leading up to them, right? Much like the grass gym, I don't remember her name, I'm sorry. But they each have like 9 people you can fight before you fight the gym leader, and we're gonna take full advantage of that because we are still XP farming here. Yeah, so last episode I kind of laid out what you can expect from the future, and I laid the seeds that I want to talk about my philosophy paper a little bit, and I do want to do that. I just want to make sure we have all of our ducks in a row here. So this freaking philosophy paper, right? Believe me, I don't take it for granted that it's a weird place to just kind of start on the philosophy paper, but like, don't one-hit KO me. I beg you. Okay. It's risky saying it, I know. Ice doesn't super affect bug, you idiot. I always think it does, and I don't have good reason to. I think it's just because in my brain I'm like, oh yeah, bugs enter hibernation in real life or whatever it is, bro. And you know how like bugs are completely inactive, like a non-issue during winter times. That's where my brain goes to. So I'm like, yeah, ice just shuts down a bug, dude. But that's not true. They do not shut down bugs. They just kind of are there to bugs. So this philosophy paper. Now, I'm going to explain to you the reason that we're talking about this paper, but understand that I'm not going to weigh in on the issue on mic, right? Like, I'm not gonna sit here and be like, so we're talking about X, and here's exactly how I feel about X. No, we ain't doing that, because it's not worth any argument that would come out of it. So, in my philosophy class, we are starting the class by basically arguing about God, the concept of God, whether students of the class believe in God, arguments about God, existing, non-existing, doesn't matter, all this stuff, right? That's where bold move to curse with your last Pokemon, knowing that I have other Pokemon to switch into as well. So it's all about God, right? And there's like several arguments around God. There's the I gotta think about them. It's this argument that's like, if you, I don't remember what the style of argument is called, but it's like if you agree with each individual premise of the argument, you must agree with the conclusion as a whole, based on the argument. So like, if an argument, ain't no way we're keeping you in 11 levels different. If an argument has like 15 steps to it, and a conclusion can be drawn from each of those steps, right? You have this long argument where every step builds on a previous step, and they all add up to one conclusion, and you agree with each individual step. You must agree with the conclusion. That is the way this argument is meant to be taken. And it's basically like this very long series of things that are like, if you add them all up, it means that God must exist. And then the next argument and again, I'm not going to get into how I feel about the argument or what the argument was, because I frankly don't remember. Because I heard about it in one podcast by this guy, and one like actual class lecture dealio, and that was it. I don't remember it. We didn't write a paper on it. It didn't matter. It mattered to like hear the argument and to hear like, to understand that like arguments like this exist, and you have to, if you philosophically want to disagree with this style of argument, you have to disagree with any of the premises, but you have to disagree with one of them. If you disagree with none of them, like if you have no leg to stand on to disagree with any part of this argument, like in an actual debate setting, you have no right to disagree with this person, is kind of the way that these arguments are set up. Ice punch, let's go! Or maybe next time. But that style of argument, and that was the lesson to take away, not, hey, I'm gonna prove God exists through this argument, or, you know, you have to disprove God, whatever, you know, that wasn't the point. The point was, this is this type of argument that exists, and you have to figure out, excuse me, how to navigate that style of argument. And that's great. And then the next thing we did was an argument, and this one I do know because it pertains to the paper, called The Problem of Evil. And I believe it's a Richard Dawkins argument about God. I don't remember who he cited as, like, the person who championed it or whatever. But it's basically, it's the assumption of God, specifically monotheistic gods of the big three. I need a Pokemon with a stall move. Sorry, Wobbuffet's bad. Okay, you know Screech, that's a good stall. Confuse Ray's also good. I think it's going to be Torchy, because we're going to try and just surf through before you can do anything to us. Because this is scary, right? Wobbuffets are always scary because of Mirror Coat, Revenge, and the other one. You know what it is. It's the... I'm just checking accuracy, don't mind me. The Destiny Bond. You know, 3 very, very good reasons to be scared. So, because we saw the absolute pain and devastation Mirror Coat can give you in our Timmy fight earlier, and we know full well what Destiny Bond does. So, I don't want to deal with it. Nummel, I'm more comfortable with. So anyway, it's the problem of evil is, like, it's based on that god. And the argument is that god, the premise is that god is described as being all-powerful, all-knowing, and morally perfect. Those are the 3, like, main things that you need to know about this god. That's the basis they're assuming about the big 3 monotheistic god. It is those 3 things by definition. I again didn't look at what the Pokemon was. I think it was a Voltoid, but you might explode. Vigoroth, excuse me, you would not explode. You would actually probably Pursuit. Okay, that was the only thing I was afraid of, because you're pretty, like, stat strong, but once we get a Bob in front of you, you can't do a whole heck of a lot. But Pursuit would have been a problem. Anyway, so it assumes that about this god, right? And then the argument is that the concept of evil, like evil existing on the planet for any reason, is contrary to the existence of this god. Like, evil and this god are not a compatible idea in the same universe, because if God is morally perfect, then God would not allow evil. It would not allow evil to exist. That is this argument that is, again, I believe it's Dawkins who champions this argument, but that is used by some atheists to say God can't exist because evil exists. And again, regardless of how I feel about that, I had to make an argument about it. And so that's going to sound weird for some people, and I know that. But in this philosophy class, I've decided to take the approach of I'm never going to base an argument solely on how I feel. If I can help it, I'm not going to base an argument on how I feel, period. I'm going to base an argument on how well I can frame that argument. Because I know that I have several things that I feel or have thought about at length that I don't have a valid philosophical argument for. Like, oops. Like, there's no way I could defend how I feel about certain things in an actual debate setting, and that's bad, right? I for a long time have been of the opinion of like, if you are in an indefensible position with an opinion you have, you should change your opinion. And I do, for the most part, agree with that sentiment. You know, I truly... Uh-oh. Why do you know that? That eyeball in it, that looks like it was just over 50%. So this should kill. Could be wrong, and if I'm wrong and you live on 1 HP, GG. Alright. But, anyway, so because of this, like, the thought trend of me trying to avoid actually how I feel and finding these arguments, because I know that I should be able to defend myself, and I usually can, absolutely, but there comes a time where certain people... how do I want to say this? Certain people are better at arguing than I am at thinking. And I don't mean to say that they're smarter than me, and I don't mean to say that I'm smarter than them. What I mean is exactly what I say. Is I think that I am a solid critical thinker. But there are people out there who are very, very focused on being good at arguing and not much else. And I know several people like that who are not dumb by any means. I would count them as quite smart people, you know, like intelligent. But at the same time, these people also focus all, if not most, if not all, of this intelligence on I can be better than you at going gotcha in an argument, and that's it. That's where they focus this energy. And I would like to think that I am less laser focused on being that jerk who's like, oh yeah, well you accidentally goofed up your words, so I'm gonna hold you to task because you misspoke. And don't get me wrong, I rake people over the coals pretty often when they goof up verbally, but as a joke. I never do it as like, aha, your argument's invalid because you misspoke. Because of course not. It's foolish. Sorry, I was like, I don't have anything to do with water type because Komodo still doesn't know a grass type move. But I was like, oh yeah, we have Torchic. But so there's just a lot of people out there like that, and if you are that person, I'm sorry. I don't mean to put you on blast that heavily, but like, you gotta realize that like there's more to life than winning an argument with someone. You know, there's a lot to be gleaned from debate. I love critical thought conversation with friends, even if it isn't a debate, even if it's just two friends. Sorry, I'm oying about Relicamp, not about the conversation I'm having. There's a lot to be gleaned from two friends who can suss out an issue together. They can, like, work at a conversation from many angles in a combined sense, where it's a collaborative conversation where you're building off of each other and in agreement, but you're truly delving into a topic without, you know, dulling it down or getting angry at each other. And there's something to be said about that. Like, I love having a deep and critical conversation with friends. I really do. But there's more to life than that. There's more to life than going like, yes, finally, Leaf Blade. Then going, oh, haha, he slightly misspoke, what a loser, ha ha ha. You know, and also, like, being like, well, I've talked you into a corner, so now I feel superior. Because that's, again, I don't think that is all that's worth having. So it's hard to defend yourself at times. But that's a really roundabout way of saying, so in this class, I'm arguing things that I might not necessarily believe, but I think that I can argue it quite well, because it's a philosophy class. And the teacher has kind of outed himself as just being like a kind of like, yeah, man, that's pretty cool. Like, not a hippie, but like pretty agreeable fellow when it comes to the sort of stuff where it's like, where it's like, yeah, I can just kind of say whatever and it won't matter because this guy will, like, as long as it's not an I thought it'd do more damage. As long as it's not an unfounded statement, he'll be like, yeah, man, sounds great. And so, what I'm arguing in this paper, and again, you have to understand, you've got to understand, why is Ice Punch like so much better than either of the other punches that are super effective? Anyway. Sorry, staying hydrated. You should too. But you gotta understand that I mean it when I say I do not believe this. Necessarily. You know, it's not that I don't believe it. It's just that, like, it's really hard to place my feelings on this topic because, like, I know apathy isn't becoming, but I just don't care about this argument. Again, I know that sounds really stupid and wrong, and that's not the way you should approach this, and you'd be right in saying that, absolutely. But, like, I just don't care about this argument. It's an argument that I don't find engaging. I don't find merit. Not I don't find merit. I just don't gather worth personally from this argument. I don't look at this argument and go, wow, yeah, it's a real thinker. I just go, dude, fuck, I don't. Ooh. Oh my. Ooh, I'm blushing. I'm so sorry. Just, if you didn't catch it, I just let an F-bomb fly. Whoopsie. Sorry, that's my real apathy showing right there. Oh, yowza, I am very sorry. Being fair, I should mention, I do mark my videos as not for kids. Why? Mostly because I don't really... I don't want to be typecast as that. I don't want to, later in my YouTube channel, I don't want to be forced into, like, a COPPA situation where I make a shift and they're like, we're suing you. But simultaneously, like, I don't think the topics I'm covering would be particularly interesting to children. When I'm sitting here talking about a philosophy paper on God, I don't imagine your average 9-year-old to be like, yeah, you know, I was just thinking about that the other day, and I was reading up on my Dawkins, and I was really starting to think, like, man, I don't know how I feel about this. So please enlighten me into your argument. Like, no 9-year-old is like that. If I fought you, I have. So this is just straight up Koga now. So instead of that, we're gonna lead with, I think Torchy's the best bet, honestly. It's really good coverage. But, fingers crossed, here we go. Koga fight. But, I also don't super try and swear. Like, I let a poop fly, except I didn't say poop once before, but an F-bomb's a new height, and I don't intend to, like, cross that line too often. And again, I'm sorry. I don't mean to be vulgar. It's just, like, that was real apathy coming through in that in that moment that I did not intend for. Because I'm trying to, put on a face for doing YouTube, right? Because if it were just me, like, sitting in my room playing Pokemon, I'd be silent, right? I wouldn't be saying any of this garbage. I'd just be like, oh, that was a lot of damage. I got put to sleep. But I would be thinking this, right? I wouldn't be, like, actively speaking. So, darn you, writer Kate. So, like, it's hard for me to, like, to try and show a true emotion without letting my true self kind of sink through. And that was one of those rare moments. I've had a couple of them before now on this channel where it's just, that's me, and I don't mean that to come out. Because it's a little too much me. It's a little vulgar. But either way. So, again, sentiment, the only sentiment I want you to get from that is I don't care about this argument in any way. Either side of this argument. It's not that I'm like saying like, oh, I'm super pro God, so I don't care what you have to say against God. And I'm also not saying I'm super anti-God, and this is, you know, it's useless to argue about God because God is dumb or whatever. I mean, if this is your ace, I don't want to put Komodo in against it, because that's like really bad. I think it's your ace. Man, I think Komodo can do this. If it kills you, I'm sorry. We have two backups. Okay, you're faster. See how you do. Let's go! Critical hit, Komodo. Let's go, BB. Very little experience. Lunatone. Psychic Rock. We'll leech a little bit of experience. Just a little bit. Just as a treat. We're gonna swap to Torchy here. But I wanted to put a little bit of faith in Komodo there, and I'm very glad we did. Super worked out. Cause like Ooper, I think is also groundwater, maybe just water. I know Quagsire is groundwater, which, man, that typing's so good, dude. But it worked out for the best. Man, did we take damage? We did. We took a very little amount of damage with Lizardius, but we crushed Koga. Like, it was not even remotely close. I think we played that really well, too. Hey, we can surf now. That's awesome. TM6. It's supposed to be toxic, which is like a super good move, but it ain't. It ain't is. So let's find out what TM6 actually is. It is Rolling Kick. I'm alright. Like, I don't like 85 accuracy moves. You probably know that enough. But anyway, so you know, I don't be swayed by my apathy into thinking that I am atheistic or theistic. It don't matter what I am. It do not. My apathy is regardless of my belief or lack thereof. You know, like, whatever it is that I do believe, it's completely adjacent to the point of this situation, because I've just never cared for this style of argument, right? I've never cared for the whole shebang of it. So what I'm arguing is I chose this as a slight challenge to myself to see if I could do it, for one, because I was like, I just want to see. I don't know if I can make this work, and because I was like, if I can, I think it'll be my best. Excuse me. I think it'll be my best platform to kind of jump off of. Yeah, we're going right into the Sabrina fight, by the way. Well, not right into the fight. We're gonna fight the trainers for now, and this episode we won't be fighting Sabrina. But so where was it going? Oh, so I chose this topic because it's like, you're gonna hear me say it. Hey, you like would almost fit in this gym, for real. Fear Cutter's like a stacking move, right? Like, you wanna switch out because Swagger's stupid. But so with, sorry, I'm really racking my brain right now. With all that in mind, the argument I'm making is that evil is a good thing. Yeah, you heard me right. I know that sounds stupid. I know it does. Believe me, I know it does. But that's the argument I'm making. Why am I making that argument? Well, again, because I wanted to challenge myself. And I think that it's a little funny to poke fun at philosophy sometimes, because philosophy is a very weird topic and area, right? It's very odd, and it's just, there's so many facets to it that you can just kind of like with. So I'm kind of doing that in reverse, where I'm kind of telling my philosophy teacher, like, yeah, you gotta understand, man, that I understand the point of this class is to expand my horizons and, you know, argue on grander scale of thought than you might have before. Well, on the other hand, what if I just said some kind of nonsense and then backed it up with a solid argument? It's solid enough for this class, and we went from there. And that's what I did. So, I'm arguing that evil is a good thing because of these reasons, and I ended up making the 4-page paper out of it. And part of that paper had to include arguments opposed and your response to it. And the funny thing is one of the arguments opposed to it that I thought of, I'd like to mention, like, I completely thought of the concept of this paper, worked on the paper, and produced the paper on my own, like, with no, like, backboarding from friends, which I usually do for papers, genuinely. Like, for most papers I write, I will, somewhere along the line, at least bounce the idea off of someone. And I did momentarily with a friend where I was like, hey, isn't this funny that I'm writing this paper? And they were like, no, that sounds really stupid. I'm laughing because that's true. That's exactly what they that's effectively what they said to me. It was like, no, that's really dumb. And I was like, But, you know, the arguments opposed to it, I had one of them was like, hey, that's stupid. And because of X reason, and I couldn't think of a way out of the argument I made up that opposes my paper. Which I'm like, so I'm openly telling the professor that there's a flaw with my thought process in the ending arguments of this paper, which is not a good thing. Because, A, he's gonna know if I'm making the argument and I am untrained in philosophy, and he's a, like, I don't want to say he's a professor, I don't want to say he's a doctorate, because I don't, let's find out if you're a ground type. You are. Because I don't know if he's a doctor or not. I don't think he's a doctor. But, either way, he's a you know, he's teaching at a college level this course. And so if I could find this flaw, he's gonna find it. He'll know, right? So I'm openly telling him, I know that you know that this is a problem, and I don't know how to avoid that problem. So what are we gonna do? Right? And it's just, I think that's funny, because I'm basically challenging him, like, yeah, give me a bad grade. What's up? What are you gonna do about it? And now, there's the... Wait, Umbreon is Dark type, right? Yeah. Good switching, idiot. But... Okay, well, it was a good switching. I forgot that Umbreon actually has defense. But, so... so I don't know how that's gonna work out, because I don't think he's gonna know that I know that I'm, like, openly mocking him. And I don't know that he's gonna, like, pick up on that. I think he's gonna think I'm completely, like, deadpan serious, and I think it's a good idea to do that. And I don't, but I just want to see what he does. I really want to know. And so I turned in the paper literally 2 days ago, and I've just been kind of stewing on it, like, should I have told him that, like, I'm kind of memeing on him? And I don't think I should. I think I should wait to see what my grade is, because it might be a good grade. Or it might be, like, a C, and he's like, why would you... Oh, an Absol, that's rough. Why would you ever tell me the weakness for your... a weakness so grand in your argument that you saw it like that, and just told me you didn't know how to respond to it? Because that's royally stupid, and it's like, I know. And that's the thing, is, like, if he does that, I'm going to tell him, like, yeah, I know, I just wanted to see what you would do, and that's true. Like, I'm going to be like, yeah, 100%, I knew that that was a bad idea, and I just wanted to see how you would react to someone openly saying, hey, I'm making a bad argument. So what? And it's all rooted in like me being extremely apathetic to the topic that we're currently arguing and yada yada. So I don't know how it's going to go over, because like the argument I make, I think if you don't bring up that contrary point, you know, the key flaw in the point, I think is a decent enough argument. I don't think it's that bad. There's like one, like it's really hard to work around this major flaw in the argument. But I think if you're smarter than me or more interested in the argument, you would find a way. And beyond that, it's one of those arguments that's like, okay, well, I no longer want to argue with you about this topic because I don't care anymore. You know, you ever have that where you're arguing with someone and you're like, I give up. I don't care anymore. Stop talking to me. If you're gonna argue like that, stop talking to me. I actually did that to someone earlier today. Excuse me, it was yesterday, but earlier today for me because I've been up for way too long. So there was this guy who was making a very literal argument, and I don't like hyper-literal arguments. They're very irritating, because when you hang on every word meaning exactly what that word means, you're clearly being pedantic. And a pedantic argument is not an argument that's like ever in a spot that I want to be arguing or conversing, because it's just like, man, I don't care that you're saying whatever you're saying, because you're saying it in the wrong way. You're approaching this in the wrong manner, right? So to that end, he was saying that people don't need caffeine. Specifically, he was like, I don't believe in 5-hour energies or anything like that. I think they're stupid and it's all bogus. And I was like, well, I mean, like, there is a direct response that 5-hour energy and caffeinated beverages provide, right? It will wake you up. He's like, well, no one needs that, though. I was like, well, sure, some people do. Like, some people have a harder time waking up than other people. Some people just have different brain chemistry than you, dude. And he's like, well, just get more sleep then. And I was like, no, that's, like, you're missing the point. Because some people need that to wake up. And he's like, well, I've never been like, I need caffeine right now. I was like, well, yeah, but that's you. You can't say, because I've never needed this, no one needs this. And he's like, well, no, you can literally do it. You can just be tired. He's like, literally no one needs caffeine. I'm like, well, of course, literally no one needs it, unless they're like, you know, addicted and they die without it. But I don't think you can ever have an addiction to that point. I think you just get wicked headaches. I don't know, maybe you get a headache so bad it'll kill you. I don't know. But, you know, no one's dependent on caffeine as far as I know, to a point that they would risk life and limb to not have it, right? But regardless, like, I'm like, oh, so you're arguing like that, huh? And he's like, yeah, well, there's got to be better ways. He's like, there's better ways to wake yourself up. I'm like, fine, do cocaine then. He's like, okay, you lose the argument. I'm like, no, I'm just arguing the way you're arguing. He's like, what do you mean? I was like, well, I know what I'm saying is ridiculous. Of course I know that. Right? I'm not actually suggesting if you're a little sleepy, take a bump. Of course I'm not saying that. But if you physically need a pick-me-up, and you want one that is more effective and more immediate than caffeine, never have I done cocaine. But my impression, based on people I've talked to who have, is that the immediate response you'll have from it will be a lot, you know, more lively than than taking a little bit. 3 in a row. Are you kidding? Hitting that on the 3rd time isn't it 1/4, 1/16, 4 times 16, or is it thirds recursive? If it's 1 in 27, I believe it. So that I think it's thirds. I think it's 1/3. Or first time I think it's guaranteed, then 1/4, then 1/16. I think it's that. It's either that or it's first time guaranteed, 1/3, 1/9. But I don't think it's. I don't think it's bad. Either way, it gets fractionally smaller every time you successively do it. The first time you got it in a row, you can split it up with another move and then protect again. But regardless of that, so basically I was like, when you argue and hang on literal definitions of words, you can't then go, someone else is incorrectly arguing with me because they're also being pedantic. It's like, no, that's not fair, and that's in my opinion, stupid. You can't go, well, I'm gonna be ridiculous and hang on semantics, but then no one else can, because it's not fair to my arguments. It's like, man, you just gotta not do that. And he's like, okay, well, let me recenter my point then to a more agreeable stance. And he was like, what I'm saying is... What did he end up saying? I was more mad about him trying to say I can't argue with him anymore. Latias we ain't messing with. Not that I'm scared of it, but... No. For a second I was like, yeah, Ice Punch, but no, dummy, it's a Psychic type. I gotta ask you, I really think Torchy's the best bet, because Charizard doesn't know anything that would be that effective, because I think Spark is our best bet. Or Surf. I bet you Surf would do good against you. We'll see, though. Anyway, so I basically think his argument refocused to something along the lines of, like... Sorry, that's scary, isn't it? Ooh, yeah. Okay, that was a crit, though, so we should be okay. Man, I gotta tell you. I don't like this fight right now. Safeguard, what are you doing, dummy? No double crit? Thank you. Ah! I basically think his argument settled on people should do more healthy things for themselves than caffeine load, because recursively loading yourself up on caffeine has negative effects on your body. And I was like, that I can agree with. That's a great argument to have. Why didn't you start there? And like, I was basically like, because and then we were like, you biscuit. And then we were just a little frustrated with each other for a little bit, but then we ended up joking it off and it was fine. But it was just like, man, you, like, being 100% honest with you, like, it's very frustrating when people do that, and you should know better. And I truly believe that. Like everyone out there, if you are the type of person who will think they are more correct than someone based on literal semantics, like literal by the letter definitions of words, like, that doesn't make for a good argument. It makes for a bad conversation. Because it's just frustrating for everyone involved. You're gonna safeguard again, aren't you? Yep, okay. So now we know not to run into that. Anyway. So, I you know, where was I going with this? I don't remember. But, but basically it was just that I'm okay with arguing with people on some, to some extent, excuse me. But in a lot of respects, like, you have to realize at a certain point that there's, like, no good way around several arguments that people make, because they come from a place of, you know, bad faith. And I think a bad faith argument is one that's made prided on literal word use, you know, hyper literal word use specifically. Because if you're saying, like, if you're specifically arguing, like, say, definitions of words and use cases, then it's fine to use literal words. But if you're, like, in this situation saying no one needs something, you are arguing in bad faith, and you should recognize that. But this episode's gone a little long. Sorry about it. But we're gonna call it. And I know that the last episode is a little shorter than this, and I'm trying to keep around half an hour. I might go a little short, I might go a little long, but I'm really trying to kind of rein it in down to half an hour. So we're gonna call it an episode for here. We beat Koga very handily. We're gonna continue the Sabrina gym, and in the next episode, we're definitely gonna fight Sabrina next episode. And then, man, it's really after that it is a push, very hard and concerted push to Blaine and the extended island. But before I do that, I'm gonna have to do a little bit of research because I need to know if I did a Pallet Town encounter or not. I don't think I did. Yeah, no, I definitely did. Now that I'm thinking back on it, I did not. Route 19, I'll have to check, and I'll check that in between episodes because I know that like three or four episodes ago I checked it like 17 times, but I forgot because that was like 2 weeks ago for me. So I'm gonna check that again, and by the next episode, I'll be up to speed. I'll know where we can catch, what we can do, and then we'll have some encounters coming up. So yeah, look forward to that. And like I said before, I'm not gonna give you the ending spiel I usually do because I'm just gonna move past it, and you know what to do. You're on YouTube, you know the thing. So I'll see you in the next video. See ya.